And this is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services Talking Business, and our interview series talking to leaders in the fields of digital marketing, banking, insurance, customer service, and business education. And today we have a chance to talk to one of our friends who's definitely in digital marketing as a sports writer, and that is Brian Heyman, who covers a lot of the major New York City teams. Brian, how are you today?
Very good, Ken. Thanks for having me on.
Well, good to see you. Sports and pro sports has been coming out of the COVID era. Crowds have been getting big again at the stadiums, and a lot of the routine, it seems to be back. You've been out with the Yankees and the Mets recently. How have been your experiences with the two Major League Baseball teams in New York?
Well, it's been you are right. I mean, the things are getting more back to normal at these ballparks. I mean, the Yankees have been having big crowds. Of course, they got a very good team this season, and then the Mets as well. So, and even for the the media, we're back in the locker room, clubhouse situation. Doing our interviews. So we have to wear masks. That's a rule inside the clubhouses. But it's we're on Zoom now. But when you're there and you're sitting in the press box or whatever doing Zoom, it seems out of the ordinary instead of being down in these locker rooms. So yeah, things are getting back to normal per se.
One of the things that we ask everybody in business is, what did they learn during the COVID period that they continue to do going forward to take care of customers or to conduct business? We're doing a Zoom today. What did you learn during COVID that seems to be holding as a good practice, a best practice going forward?
Well, as we just discussed with Zoom, and just as far as the media is concerned, some teams still, are offering that option for press conferences. So in theory, sometimes you could cover from home if need be. And some have had reporters have had COVID but not terribly ill, and they've been able to to write from home. So I cover the WNBA, the New York Liberty, a lot, and they also during the press conferences will offer that Zoom option. So I don't know if that's going to go on forever, but I think that's okay. But for myself, I would rather be there talking, face to face.
Very good. Now, you've been doing a lot of work for Newsday, and past years you've been with the Journal News. You've had stories in the New York Times. How is it different today? We talk about multi-channel distribution. You write a story that may be in a print version of a newspaper, but it's going to be online. You're going to try and put excerpts perhaps on Twitter, and perhaps a video excerpt that you did will go on YouTube. How do you find being multi-channel as a reporter?
It's I've done this for a while, so and I remember the days before the internet, and the duties have expanded and expanded even more, which is not a bad thing, because you're getting more eyes on your work and on the product and on the organization that you represent. So my stories will be in print and they'll be on the website, and depending on the deadlines, like a lot of times the game is ending too late for certain editions, so you're doing an early feature story, and your game story for that early edition, well, people would have to get it online there. And as you said before about digital marketing, I'm constantly promoting my work on various social media websites, LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and even Instagram. I'll put when I'm at the game, I'll shoot a photo and I'll put that up promoting my appearance, but also to have an extra one as well, where I can put a link in my bio and say, here's a generic photo from the Yankee game, and click on the link in my bio so you can read the story of what I wrote about. So, and yes, occasionally you do have to send a video in. It seems the videos are popular at times, but yeah, it is a much more all-encompassing job. You're tweeting during the game. I'm very big on, in a baseball game, if there's a RBI base hit or whatever, a team scores, I'm very big at just putting on what just happened and what's the score. Because when I'm looking at Twitter myself, I'm not there. I'm not watching on TV. I'm like, well, what's the score? What's the score? So yeah, it's it's a lot now. It's a lot because I'll just give you an example. So tonight I'm covering the Mets Braves game at Citi Field. So I have to go to the clubhouse. It'll be 7 o'clock game, it'll be open at 3:10. And I'll go do an interview and have to write an early feature story that will go in the early edition, but we'll stay up on the website as well. And then when the game ends, I will send a game story of what just happened. And then I will send another one after the press conferences and the locker room stuff, to, a quote version of that story. So I'm doing an early story, I'm doing a game story, I'm redoing the game story. I also have to do like a notebook with different items that's going to be sent in kind of pregame, and then if anything else happens, I will update it. So it's a process there in baseball, especially.
Absolutely. Now, I know you have been covering a lot of high school. We met when you did college, covering Iona, now Iona University basketball. Yeah. For publishers, high school is still a bread and butter for covering the sports teams. The parents want to see their children's name in the paper, and the communities are very proud of the athletic programs at the high schools. Tell us a little bit about why that's important, you find, to your papers and publications.
Well, I think the philosophy is that that you can get the professional coverage, which is important, and people want to read that, but that you can get that in a lot of places in the market. We're talking about the New York, city market right now. But as far as the Newsday covers Long Island, this is the main place that you can get good high school coverage, comprehensive coverage, and and you're right that the parents want to see it and see their kids highlighted. Newsday does a special section on high school sports every Sunday during the school year. So for the paper and website, it is a very important element as far as attracting readers and clicks on the website. And it offers something that's kind of unique to that area.
Very good. Well, I still get my print version of the New York Times every day. I can't get by without it. But tell us a little bit about, we've been following college in our programs, and so much going on with conference realignment, particularly with the Big Ten and the Pac-12, and what may be going on with the SEC. Big programs moving around, chasing television dollars, could be. What do you see happening on the college sports scene?
Well, there's a tremendous amount of movement, and when I see like USC and UCLA getting out of the Pac-12 there, and they're in a regional conference that is so far away from the West Coast, I'm like, what's going on? But I know what's going on. The money is going on. And another thing right now that's very big is the name, image, likeness, and that has become a way to attract recruits to opportunities to make money. And some of the college players in football and basketball, they're making good money off name, kind of selling their name, image, and likeness. So it's a whole new world in college sports. I mean, there's still going to be more movement with conferences, and even Stony Brook for basketball, they moved and really all their sports they've moved into a different conference starting like this school year. So it will create a more natural rivalry with Hofstra being in the same conference now. So it's just a lot of movement, and it's very, very different from the olden days.
Yeah, and it really affects some of the local programs in that are Division I in basketball, let's say, with the name, image, and likeness, because players have an expectation now that they're going to be able to earn something through that opportunity. I just was listening to something at my alma mater, Providence College, and they were doing a fundraiser to help fund their players' NIL accounts. And I wasn't quite sure how it was working. You have this concept of collectives now, which college athletic departments in one way or another support, and it results in players being able to get paid for their name, image, and likeness activity on their accounts. It seems like there's no controlling organization. The NCAA has backed away from it, and I think they're all afraid of going to the federal government and asking for guidelines, because the feds may come in and look at some other elements. Do you see this name, image, and likeness the way it is staying the way it is?
I do. I see it growing at the bigger stops, the bigger colleges, the SECs of the world, the Alabamas of the world, and Texas A&M and whatever. For some of the smaller colleges and the smaller markets, I don't know how popular it's going to be. I mean, there's limited. Inflation's going up. There's cost concerns for businesses, and for them to spend more at this time. In smaller markets, you do wonder if are the athletes going to get that much out of it at that certain level. But at the big stops, yeah, I mean the NCAA seems to have lost some influence, and it's going in that direction. So yeah, I can see this really growing.
Yeah, the NCAA has lost just about every time they've gone to court on these issues, and so the question is it just going to be things run by the major conferences and the way they want to do business? Certainly attracting television dollars is their big goal. Brian, it's really neat to be able to chat, and it's so good to see that you're going out to the major league venues to cover the Mets and Yankees. Just tell us a little bit about this amazing season. The Mets have Pete Alonso and the Yankees have Aaron Judge, and it's shaping up to be one of the best baseball seasons in New York in memory.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be a New York baseball fan. It definitely is. The Yankees are having a tremendous season so far, and they, in theory, have bulked up a little bit since the trade deadline. Before the trade deadline, they brought in 5 talents, one of which is injured right now, Harrison Bader, but they hope he's back in September. I think their season will be, for all their success in the regular season, their season will be judged on October, and they may see Houston again in the playoffs. And right now I think that's a toss-up. It's hard to see who's going to win that one. Sometimes you look at a series and say, this team has no shot, but it looks pretty even between those two teams. The Mets have also, I found that interesting because they were up by 10.5 games. Then the Braves got hot and the lead's 1.5, but they didn't surrender the whole thing. So, at this point, they're having a big 5-game series with the Braves, and there's a lot to like about the Mets. They made some improvements on the margins to their offense that look pretty good. Again, before the trade deadline, I wonder about their bullpen a little bit. Although at the back end with Diaz, he's been tremendous, been practically unhittable this season. So I see both. Obviously, I see both teams in the playoffs. They're both miles above 500, and they're both championship contenders. And it's going to be a very interesting October, I think.
Do you think Aaron Judge is going to hold up as he gets close to, what's a heralded record? The Yankee team record is heralded when the two players you are going to try and catch up to are the likes of Babe Ruth and Roger Maris.
He doesn't seem to let the pressure get to him. He doesn't seem to, maybe privately he's dwelling on these numbers, but publicly he's all about let's win. It's about the team, whatever. I'll take my walk if they're pitching around me, things like that. But yeah, it's, Roger Maris passed Ruth 1961, 61 and 61, and that's in definite jeopardy as far as I can tell, if Judge does not get injured. So that is a hallowed record because people think it's kind of the clean home run record. And the interesting thing is that Maris felt so much of the pressure because he was going against Mantle until Mantle dropped out in September of 61 when he had, I believe, a hip infection. And the scrutiny was tough. I wonder if Maris was facing the scrutiny of today, how he would feel. But his hair was, said to be falling out under the pressure there as he approached Ruth's record of 60, and plus that season the commissioner said you really had to get it done in 154 or there'd be separate records. But I see Judge handling that type of pressure pretty well. I think he's going to break it, but we'll see. It's hard to tell, but I don't think that the pressure will get to him.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, I think Mickey Mantle's best season, and it was 61, had 54, as I recall. And that'll be something, because so many of us grew up watching Mickey Mantle's last years in New York and getting over the 500 home run plateau was always remarkable. Brian Heyman, what's in store for as you get into the balance of the summer and into the fall? What are you going to be covering, and how can people follow your articles?
Well, I have some more Mets games coming up, and I have some Jets training camp stories coming up. And then we'll get more into the high school season. They'll start practicing, I think, around August 22nd. So we'll be looking into a lot of that on Long Island. So people could go to newsday.com/sports and they can see my articles there, or on Twitter, I'm at bheyman99. And I'm always posting what I write on that website, as well as for my Facebook followers and LinkedIn people and Instagram as well.
Well, you got a big following, and always great to chat with you, Brian Heyman, graduate of Ithaca College, been with the New York Times and Journal News now, as many articles in Newsday and covering both the major leagues in New York and high schools and college. Brian, great to see you today.
Same here, Ken. Thanks so much again.
Our pleasure. This is Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Talking Business. Thank you for watching.